It's 2011, and three-time World Yo-Yo Champion Hiroyuki Suzuki is about to step up on stage at the Asia Pacific Yo-Yo Contest. Hiroyuki is arguably regarded as the best single-handed yo-yo player of all time. And in this moment, he's in his competitive prime. But little does he know that not just one, but two new players are going to rise up and dethrone him as Asian champion. And they will come from the unlikeliest of places. If you look at a list of all of the countries that have a world yo-yo champion, buried in the sea of Japan and US, you'll see one random dude from Singapore. Since 2003, Singapore has been home to the Asia Pacific Yo-Yo Contest. This would grow to become one of the largest multinational yo-yo contests in the world. Players from all over Asia would travel and compete for the title of Asian champion. At first, the Japanese dominated the scene, but slowly the yo-yo talent in Singapore developed and quickly became world-class. There were countless prominent Singaporean yo-yo players, but in the single-hand division, the big three was Daryl Mitchell, Christopher Chia, and Marcus Coe. Being close friends at the time, they practiced with one another, and together they pioneered much of what competitive yo-yoing looks like today. And with this new repertoire of tricks, the big three wiped out just about everybody, including three-time world yo-yo champion Hiroyuki Suzuki.
To all the viewers right now about your third place taking. Well, everybody thought, of course, if you don't mind me saying, everybody thought you were going to take first. What happened, and what do you feel right now?
He was dethroned that year by Christopher Chia, who threw down one of the best competitive freestyles of all time. Followed closely by Marcus Coe in second place, who'd later become the world yo-yo champion later that year. Hiroyuki placed third for the first time ever, with Daryl Mitchell placing just behind him. The big three were rock stars, and as they constantly tried to one-up each other, they quickly made Singapore the place to foster the next generation of competitive yo-yo talent. But as bright as Singapore's future seemed, this story doesn't have a happy ending. The big three would eventually fall out with one another, and largely distance themselves from the Singaporean yo-yo community. Without the continued innovation that made them rise up in the first place, the generation that came after couldn't quite surpass the existing champions. And as the community in Singapore began to downsize, there was little hope that someone in the next generation would ever surpass the big three. It's 2019. A nervous 16-year-old Xavier Ng takes the stage at the Singaporean National Yo-Yo Contest. His toughest opponent? Now 5-time Singaporean National Yo-Yo Champion and former World Yo-Yo Champion, Marcus Coe. The last of the big three still actively competing. Even in his later years, Marcus is still seen as unbeatable in Singapore. But Xavier's talent shines through, and he throws down a clean and modern yo-yo routine. And for the first time in 8 years, a Singaporean, other than a member of the big three, is crowned Singaporean National Yo-Yo Champion. The old age of Singapore is over, but the new generation has only just begun. Alright, getting off the plane now. Alright, we're in Singapore. So, I'm in Singapore for like 3 reasons. A, there's an international division here. It's kind of reminiscent of the Asia Pacific contest that used to be held. There's a bunch of really tough contenders, and I'm using this as like practice for Worlds. The second reason is Offset Yo-Yo, it's a sponsor, so thought I'd rock up, show face. And the primary reason is Xavier. He's officially on Team Offset Yo-Yo right now. And so he's a favorite to win the contest, and so I thought I'd just, rock up. Dude, sick sign, man. Hey, bro. Oh, we're with Xavier right now.
Hey.
So what's the plan right now?
So right now, Brandon's hungry right now, so I'm gonna bring him to eat some hawker food.
Ah, yeah. Sick. Nice.
Let's go eat some Singapore food.
Hey. Over dinner, Xavier and I caught up and discussed his strategy for defending his title as the best single-handed yo-yo player in Singapore. Which begs the question, what makes a yo-yo player better than another? You may think that in today's age, all the competitive yo-yo players are just busting out DNAs on stage. Admittedly, while the DNA has become somewhat of a flashy taunt, it's hardly a high-scoring trick. So how do yo-yo players actually win contests? While there are a multitude of factors, the most important factor is a player's technical score. Basically, whose yo-yo tricks score the highest. Over the years, different tricks have scored higher depending on the scoring system of that generation. While it's impossible to generalize entire generations of yo-yoing, broadly, it evolved like this. In the late 1990s to 2000s, yo-yos were pretty primitive, so it was pretty difficult to yo-yo at all. So in that era, pretty much any trick would give you a point. Judges would award points for tricks that largely just looked cool. However, in the early 2000s, competition yo-yos evolved to long-spinning butterfly-shaped yo-yos with large ball bearings. This made most yo-yo tricks easier, and therefore judges became more strict and objective. They began clicking distinctive string hits, and the more you hit, the more you scored. In this era, fast tricks had a clear advantage. As time went on and yo-yos got even better, with more sophisticated weight distribution and being primarily made out of metal, different genres of competitive yo-yo tricks began to emerge, such as horizontal tricks done at fast speeds, body tricks that required the movement of the legs or the arms, and even crazier technical tricks. Today, judges have seen just about everything, and no one genre of trick on its own can trump another. In the current competitive landscape, yo-yoers are expected to be able to do every style of trick, and for this reason, points are not given as generously as they used to be. Tricks that are repeated or considered too easy are no longer scored. Less is more in this age. But with less scoreable tricks in their freestyle, if you miss one, you might not have enough high-scoring elements to compensate further down the line. And it's for this reason, I had something to help Xavier out.
Did those packages arrive?
Yes, they did. 2 packages. I'm not gonna tell you what.
Alright, so, secret package number 1. Oh, damn.
First one.
The first one. Alright. Oh, so this is a Deviant Plus. Conventional wisdom states that yo-yos should be around 44 to 45 millimeters wide. Any wider, and you risk going into the territory where the yo-yo harmonically vibes. But, theoretically, if you were able to go wider, the added catchability would give you a serious advantage in landing those high-scoring, high-difficulty tricks. So over the last year, Offset Yo-Yo had been working to revamp the Deviant design to do just that. A competition yo-yo, 50 millimeters wide. Our widest yo-yo ever. Xavier and I had been testing the yo-yo out, demoing it at smaller local contests to get the design just right. And now, right before Xavier's national contest, it was finally ready. You've been using these ones, right?
Yeah, the whole competition set over here.
Oh yeah, that's in his little offset box. So this is what Xavier has been using. Blue, my favorite color.
The next color.
Oh my god. Okay, I know what you guys are thinking. It's actually not a titanium yo-yo. This was Xavier's idea. So he wanted a yo-yo that was aluminium, but was colored as if it were to look like a titanium yo-yo. This is an aluminium yo-yo, but it'll be priced like an aluminium yo-yo, but looks really like a titanium one. Should we try this one out?
Yeah,
you want to try this one?
okay.
Alright.
This is the most important part.
That? Why?
Because if it smacks my face while doing my neck tricks, I'm gone.
Xavier, Seeing his new routine, it was clear that Xavier had leveled up. Most notably, he'd added a repertoire of high-scoring neck tricks. These tricks were high risk, high reward. He was hitting them now, but I was a little bit concerned whether he would be hitting them on the actual day. Overall though, it was clear that Xavier was the favorite to win. Oh, dude, that's freaking fire, bro. That was so clean.
Minus 10, I think.
Oh man, dude. But like, your mistakes have no dead time. They're like very, like, subtle.
Yeah. After my freestyle, I always need like a 5-minute break.
Yeah, that's me too. Xavier had a few surprises for me too. He designed an entire clothing line for Offset Yo-Yo, and even gave me a pair of custom-made sneakers.
Oh, dude.
After all this, it was time to head to bed for the pre-contest meetup the next morning. So it's 7 a.m. We got woken up by like an intense, crazy-ass thunderstorm. Look. Starting. Oh, alright. Getting started early. With the absence of the big three competing, there were many aspiring next-gen Singaporean yo-yoers determined to claim the throne. If you were to say, who would be your biggest competition in Singaporean nationals?
So all the big dogs like Marcus Cole, Christopher Chia, they're not competing, so that's a relief.
Yeah.
But there's some up-and-coming players like Tan Nan and Karthik, and then I think there are a few others which they're getting really good. So I'm not scared. I'm just I'm happy to see them.
Okay. That's one train. Hey, let's go, man.
Let's go.
See you guys.
Non-paper contest basically means the person with the longest leaping yo-yo will win.
Pre-parties
So
have
in
begun.
5
Pre-parties
minutes-
are always an exciting part of yo-yo contests because all contestants are required to show up and register. Therefore, it's the first time you can see all of your competition in the flesh. And from what Xavier and I could see, everyone was in top form. Official pre-party has ended. We are heading back now. Is that Jonathan? And you hear? Good morning!
What you are seeing today is the Singapore National Yo-Yo Championship 2023. Are you guys excited? Come on, I can hear better. Are you guys excited? Alright, I want to take this opportunity.
-2.
Yeah, that's looking, dude, you're looking good today. Were you practicing last night?
Yeah. All night.
They were practicing
It's a small stage, but there's a big turnout. The first obstacle for today was to get through the preliminary rounds. As the current Singapore national yo-yo champion, Xavier wasn't actually required to compete in this round, as he was automatically seeded to the final. But it had been a while since he'd competed in Singapore, so he decided to compete anyway to warm himself up and to remind everybody why he was the Singaporean national yo-yo champion. But things wouldn't exactly go as planned.
Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you our defending Singapore champion, Xavier Ng.
Xavier got off to a strong start, but just as I'd feared, the nerves were starting to get the better of him. One by one, his high-risk, high-difficulty tricks started missing in rapid succession. Xavier needed those tricks to score the majority of his points, so by missing them, he'd see a drastic drop in his overall score. At the end of the day, his preliminary round didn't matter, as he was seeded to the final regardless. But when all was said and done, it delivered a huge mental blow.
Alright, Xavier Ng, everybody. Nice freestyle, nice freestyle.
Not too many, probably 5 or 6. After the preliminary routine, Xavier and I left the venue to regather our thoughts before the final. Not before he was stopped by a well-wishing fan. Interacting with anyone right after bombing a performance can require patience and restraint. Xavier handled it like a trained professional. Dude, good job handling that.
It's part of the offset team job, bro.
That actually is. Oh, sick. So, 1A prelims have just finished. Xavier, how you feel, buddy?
Okay. I think I'll qualify.
So yeah, now we're kind of just chilling here. There's no real plan other than the space is available. There's no pressure to stay here, but generally when you're at a yo-yo contest, everyone's coming up to you. It's a very stressful environment. So the best players, and by players I mean the pretentious ones, they normally hide up in a hotel room beforehand, and so... For the next few hours, Xavier and I rewatched his prelim to try and diagnose what was going on. But at this stage, the most important thing to do was for Xavier to regain his confidence, because his next performance wasn't a rehearsal. If he messed up too many of his high-scoring tricks, his competition would be right there to snatch the Singaporean title. The moments before a final routine are always nerve-wracking, and this was no different.
I just wanna. So I think the key thing when I go on stage is just to remember to go slow, because on stage you tend to go very fast because of all the pressure.
Yeah.
So in my mind, I'm just always telling myself just to go slow.
And today, Xavier's competitors were all hitting solid routines. If he didn't bring his A game, he'd have to wait another year to reclaim the title.
Are you ready for the final contestant for the 1A division, everyone? Because this last person, he is your defending Singapore champion. He has slain many champions. He has slain national champions. He has slain world champions. Let's give it up for Xavier Ng! Alright, ladies and gentlemen, your defending Singapore champion, Xavier Ng!
Xavier's routine got off to a shaky start, missing even simple tricks and transitions, with each miss decreasing his chances of defending the title. But about halfway through, something clicked. Xavier hit his stride and began executing his best tricks with speed and elegance. It was satisfying to see him finally showcase a level of execution I'd only ever seen him hit in practice. After having the wherewithal to recover from his rough start and finish his routine strong, Xavier was overcome with emotion. It had been 4 years since he dethroned world champion Marcus Coe to become the Singaporean national yo-yo champion. And although his routine wasn't perfect, today he'd showed up strong and made his mark. Xavier ended up winning the contest outright, scoring 18 points higher than his nearest competitor. And he was now one step closer to being one of Singapore's yo-yo greats.
That is the end of today's vlog.